Friends, your support is simply mind-blowing. I see how much you liked the last video and the activity on it melted my heart. You guys are really cool, so I'm already working hard on the next game videos and I hope that you will like them too. Well, while the video game issues are being prepared, I would like to dive into one story with you, which is a little different from the standard game stories. We know a ton of legends about lengthy or even cursed video games, after which strange and inexplicable things allegedly begin to happen to the players. Phenomena. Either your game suddenly starts to glitch, or your computer heats up. Lags turn into something mystical or even worse. The consequences go beyond the screen and leak into real life. It sounds crazy, yes, but such tales have been stirring the imagination for decades. One of the most famous stories in this segment is the legend of Herobrine, which every self-respecting Minecraft player knows about. The legend of Steve with white pupils, which appeared back in 2010. Which scared players once, destroyed their buildings and broke the game world, constantly becoming surrounded by rumors. She went from being a simple joke to a real legend. Players began telling horror stories about how Herobrine appears without warning, watches them from the darkness, moves unpredictably, as if living its own life. It even got to the point that gamers were saying, as if someone is watching them through the game and then in life. As if the gaze from the monitor moves beyond the window, and there was a lot of this on the internet at one time. This is how it would all continue if the developers didn't put out a post saying that there is no Herobrine in the game and never was. But even after that they continued to play along with the community, inserting into the Minecraft member logs inscriptions like Herobrine removed, as if hinting that not everything is so simple. This example is perfect proof that how an online community can give birth to a myth that takes on a life of its own. But what if I told you that there is a video game like this? The consequences of which were felt by players in real life. Not just made up, a real avalanche. Rumors, memories of mysterious symptoms. A game that left some gamers with headaches, nausea, insomnia, nightmares. Some had epileptic seizures, while others had memory lapses. Some couldn't even remember who they were or where they were. It sounds like something impossible. But that's why this is the most hyped creepypasta of the past. Wandering around the vast expanses of the Western Internet, Polybius is not just a horror story, he is an arcade legend, which literally went beyond its genre. It captured in thousands of people, gave birth to dozens of fan investigations, and still remains one of the most talked about urban legends in the world of video games. And if you imagine this game something like this, or maybe even like this, then you are almost right. In fact, it looked like this. Yes, according to some sources this is exactly the gameplay, which evoked in people all those feelings that I described to you. It is precisely this geometrically incomprehensible something that causes. There is such a resonance on the internet that talk about it still does not subside. Although the gameplay itself seemed banal, a tunnel shooter with visual chaos, it was this design that made the game unique and rumored to be dangerous. As you can see, she was no different. Some unique gameplay or advanced mechanics. It was a typical space shooter, of which there were a huge number in the 90s. The player allegedly controlled a spaceship that moved along an abstract corridor, dodging obstacles while shooting at enemies. The game featured bright, flashing geometric patterns, psychedelic visual effects and unusual sound signals, which were rumored to have a hypnotic effect. Some even claimed that the game used binocular sounds and replaced the brain's normal response, putting the player into a kind of trance. And this is not just a fantasy. There are dozens of messages on the old forums, where people describe how they experienced symptoms after playing, similar to post-traumatic disorder. One user recalled that after the Polybius session he couldn't sleep for 3 days. But despite all this external simplicity, the machine quickly became something of a legend in gaming halls. People were literally lining up to play, and then they started telling strange things. And these stories sounded so similar that it felt like it couldn't just be a coincidence. It was like a miniature Mandela effect. Everyone remembered something different, but they felt the same thing. Anxiety, disorientation, a strange aftertaste, as if you had played not a game, but found himself in something much deeper and darker. Players claimed that after the session they started to get headaches, panic attacks, hallucinations, and even episodes of amnesia. Some complained of strange dreams, others of a feeling of anxiety, which did not let go for several days. And one teenager, according to rumors, even lost consciousness right in the hall. There were also more alarming statements, such as loss of spatial orientation, disturbances in time perception, short-term loss of speech, or outbursts of aggression. It got to the point that they started to appear Rumors that the machine provokes epileptic seizures, especially in children and adolescents. Some stories mention hidden messages flashing on the screen, such as, "OB. No thought, consume, meaning, subdue. Don't think, consume." This doesn't feel like a simple game anymore. It's something more, something scary, something purposeful. Some claimed that Polybius' visual effects were so powerful that they acted like hypnotic patterns, causing short-term episodes of dissociation, where the person feels that leaves one's body or observes oneself from the outside. Someone said that during the game the sense of time disappeared. It's like you've only been playing for a couple of minutes, but in reality it's been an hour and a half already. Such effects are even reflected today in studies of the impact of visual stimuli on perception. True, hardly anyone expected that a regular arcade machine could be capable of such a thing, especially considering that graphics in those years were quite primitive. Expect such a strong impact from the game, consisting mainly of geometric shapes and flickering lights. It would seem simply impossible, but nevertheless, this is precisely where the Polybius paradox lies. What seemed like a simple and unremarkable arcade, in fact, it turned into something almost magical, or at least. The stories about mysterious people added real intrigue, who regularly came to the machine in formal suits, with suitcases and connected some devices to it. These people, whom eyewitnesses called men in black, were not interested in money, did not communicate with the owners of gaming halls, but simply did some manipulations with the machine gun. Some reported seeing them uploading something into the system. Others, that they connected diagnostic equipment and collected data. Someone even remembered how these men measured the player's pulse, or wrote something down in notebooks after each session. And here a parallel with conspiracy theories immediately arises. Was this part of some government experiment? Hidden under the guise of a regular video game, the most popular version, which is adhered to by fans of the legend, that it was a secret projection related to the Ica Ultra program. This program actually existed within its framework, methods of influencing human consciousness were studied, through substances, hypnosis, sensory deprivation and other methods. If you believe it, rumor has it that Polybius could be a digital continuation of these experiments. A game that analyzed player behavior in real time, his emotional and physiological reactions. More daring versions claimed that there were sensors and pressure sensors hidden in the machine body. Heart rate monitors, eye movement readers, some claimed that even the sound in the game adjusted to the player's state to elicit the strongest possible response. There is even a theory that the game could synchronize the blink rates, screen with certain brain rhythms, causing them most euphoria, fear, anxiety or other emotional states. It would seem that if this really was such an ambitious project, then the story of Polybius had to be continued, explored, studied and analyzed. But a month after the launch, the Polybius machines disappeared. Just disappeared, no auctions, no dismantled hulls, no traces. Owners of gaming halls allegedly received anonymous calls with instructions to remove the machines. Some people said that the cars were simply taken by the same people. In black under the cover of night, here begins the second round of theories. Where did the cars go? Who removed them? Did anyone really understand that the influence of the game becomes too dangerous, or the experiment was considered successful and ended ahead of schedule? Some are sure that the machines are still stored somewhere in classified archives and that they are being studied in laboratories. Perhaps they are already using the data obtained for other more modern projects. It was from this moment that Polybius began to turn into a myth. In the modern internet, people wrote posts about this, made videos, made podcasts dedicated exclusively to investigating this story. However, there is practically no information about this game. No photos of the original machine, no technical descriptions, no files. Only fragmentary references, retold stories, inconsistencies in details and fan reconstructions. Even the gameplay that is most often associated with Polybius, this is only an attempt to recreate based on stories. One of these projects appeared in 2007. This is what players imagine when they think of the original game. And then another one appeared in 2016 from the Llamasoft studio. In this version, the game resembled a mixture of Bright, a visual trip and a wild shooter with perception overload. And it was as if it was done specifically to convey that very atmosphere which surrounded the original. In 1998, a post appeared on the cohenop.org website, where Polybius was described as an experimental arcade game from a certain German company. The company was carried away, which in translation means suppression of feelings. It is this post that is considered the point of renewed interest. Interestingly, the site later tried to disown the publication, claiming it was just a joke. But the public was already intrigued and the refusal only increased the paranoia. If it's all fake, why delete the post? What are they hiding? Hundreds of people started appearing in the comments, who claimed that they had actually played Polybius or knew someone who had. Who have encountered the machine gun personally. Each had its own details. Someone described the level, someone the music, someone a specific phrase they saw on the screen. But all the stories had one thing in common. It was a game after which you were never the same. A real hunt for has begun on forums and Reddit. The truth is, someone created maps of possible locations of the machines. Others tried to contact the workers of the gaming halls of those years, asking them dozens of questions. There were even fan investigations with trips to Portland, interviews with local residents, attempts to reconstruct history from archives and newspapers. One YouTube channel made a whole mini-documentary where they tried to follow how the story of Polybius spread from oral histories to digital creepypastas. It turned out that already at the end of the 80s, those who had heard something about him had, who communicated on early digital platforms. What makes you think? Perhaps the game actually existed, but it was just not written about publicly. In the 2010s, the legend reached a new peak. She has been mentioned in The Simpsons, music videos, web series, creepypastas, and has become a popular icon. Even those who have never played arcade games know about a Polybius. She inspired indie developers to create glitchy horror games, inspired writers, artists, and even philosophers. It has been referred to as a digital artifact that has the ability to alter perception. Reality, this is how Polybius lives to this day. Despite the complete lack of evidence, despite the fact that none of the official structures have confirmed its existence, and despite the fact that no one has ever found the physical original machine, the game continues to live in the minds, discussions, and imaginations of thousands of people around the world. This story has become more than just an urban legend, but something bigger, a cultural phenomenon, which over the years has acquired new layers. Analogies with creepypastas like Slender come to mind. But Polybius far deeper, it's not just invented on the forum. It grew out of dozens of sources, scraps of real memories, rumors, and theories. Some people sincerely believe that they played it, others think that it is a collective trick of memory. Others claim that it is a cleverly presented hoax, which got out of control, but be that as it may. Polybius is something unique. It does not exist in the form of a cartridge or a disc, and as a myth that has taken root in digital culture. Perhaps this is what makes her so special. Because the legend of Polybius shows, sometimes fear works more strongly if it cannot be denied. Cannot be refuted. When fear has no form, it becomes universal, then it lives longer. Because what you can't prove, but you feel with your skin, stays with you for a long time. It whispers to you in the dark, makes you doubt the obvious and look around. This is the power of real digital mythology. Well, for today my content is exhausted. I hope you enjoyed the story and shared it with my mega important opinion about him in the comments. And I went on to look for the best stories from video games for you, which you most likely haven't heard of before yet.